Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. I am going to do a reading today for those of you who are in no communication with your counterpart. And the reason that I'm doing this spread today is because today is the anniversary of the day that I connected with my divine counterpart. And we are not in communication, so I figured that it would be a good fortuitous time to do this reading. And so I'm using the Mythical Goddess Tarot, and I'm listening to this song that really reminds me of my counterpart and this connection. It's called I Found by Amber Run. So if you ever want to listen to it, then it's a beautiful achy breaky heart song. Spirit, please use me as a clear channel for communication. May the messages that come through be in the highest good of all those concerned. I draw a sacred circle around this space, setting my ego to the outside. I call upon my ancestors, guides, divine love, higher wisdom, ascended masters, to be with me, to guide these messages, protect this space, protect this energy. May they serve the highest good of the listener and the person for whom they are listening and the collective. So it is. It wasn't supposed to be right in front of me. Talks and sits to me. Okay, so the reason for the lack of communication. Visionary. This is the crone. Here's the thing, okay? Part of the reason why people are not in communication right now is because we needed it to be able to come into, to tap into our own visionary type of energies. The crone is a mature energy. The crone is someone who's been through some shit and has grown through it. This is a really powerful energy. Okay, so the crone has been through life. Okay, the crone is someone who has tapped into their higher wisdom. You see her third eye is wide open. This is like like literally a person who is the embodiment of spirit. Okay, part of what needed to happen here was that the person, your listener, needed to be able to tap into the vision and hold the seed of potentiality. This is saying, look, this is about you've been in this situation, you're in no communication right now because it's helping you to develop your own spiritual insight and discernment. It's helping you to see things in a different perspective, giving you the ability to access possibilities that you never would have imagined before. So things, maybe wild dreams that you had before, but now you're actually being able to see them. You're creating the vision and bringing it to pass in your life. This is helping you to see and create your world consciously the way that you would want it to be. Here's the thing. This is a card about paradigm shifting. Part of why you're in no communication right now is literally about it's helping you shift your paradigm. It's helping you to understand things like unconditional love, that you can unconditionally love somebody and not be in communication with them, that you can unconditionally love somebody and have zero expectations of them. In fact, I would suggest that is what unconditional love is, that this is literally about you shifting paradigms. And if you've heard my readings before, this is what this twin flame journey is about. It's about shifting paradigms. It's about transformation. It's about raising consciousness. That's why this is happening. So what's the underlying cause? Interesting. Pleasure. Here's the thing. The underlying cause is that you may have tied your connection to made it your source of pleasure. You made it your connection with this person was like your source of happiness, of joy, of pleasure. And so being in no communication has taught you how to find pleasure in other circumstances. This mermaid is sitting upon a rose quartz. I wear a rose quartz in a heart shape around my necklace. I wear it every day. I also have a giant, and I mean giant like this big, and I'm not kidding you, rose quartz that my best friend just gave to me that's on my bedside right now. It's on my nightstand. So here's the thing is that what's happening right now is that your underlying underlying the separation is it's forcing you into a space of learning how to find pleasure outside of this connection, how to find pleasure within yourself, within other people, within divine love, finding other ways to find divine love and access pleasure outside of this connection, so that you're not feeling so bound to it, that it's not this, you know, total source and sum of your pleasure, of your happiness in life, that you're learning how to find that outside of that. And that's where you're going to find your real super soul empowerment. So how would they feel to communicate right now? Pessimism. See, here's the thing: they're still trapped in their mental prison. Okay, they just don't see they don't see how it's possible, right? They're in that space of like, I mean, like, maybe they're like, I would love to communicate with my counterpart, but I just don't see how it's possible. I don't see how we could possibly come back from where we went. You know, maybe you went to a dark space spiritually. Maybe things weren't didn't work out well. Maybe things were, you know, extremely negative. Maybe the breakup was bad. Maybe they're in another situation, you know, maybe they're in a karmic situation where they have children to think of, or they've got elderly parents that they're taking care of, or there's something. But literally how they would feel to communicate, it would feel for them, it would trigger feelings of pessimism, because they feel like there's just no way to get to that end. They just don't see how it's possible. And so it would just cause them to feel a sense of pessimism and sadness and doubt. The thing is that unfortunately they don't know this yet, but the thing is that this is all in their own mind. There's always a way. What's the saying? Where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way out of difficult circumstances if you can just open your mind to the possibilities. There's always a way to create the life that you want to create if you believe, you know, if you create that in your mental space. But the thing is that this card is showing up that it's like to say that part of how part of you showing up, if you were to communicate with them or they were to communicate with you, part of what you would bring up for them is this reminder that their perception and the way that they see the world colors their reality and creates circumstances and things that they may not necessarily want. They are limited in their mind and their thinking, and they know it when they're with you because you're more expansive. You see the possibilities. And they may be watching you and, you know, spiritually or even on social media, and seeing your life expand and seeing your things happening for you, seeing things taking off and you creating your own reality. And they're feeling the sense of pessimism, like, well, maybe it works for them, but how is that going to work for me? This is a person, quite frankly, that the way that they see the world is very negative. They're the, you know, glass half empty person right now. And seeing you or talking to you, communicating with you would bring that back to the surface for them. They can maintain the facade that everything is well when they're in the rest of their world. When they're faced with you and you're mirroring them and you're showing them back, you know, showing them who they are, it's harder to maintain the illusion. That's part of why they're staying in no communication right now, because it's easier than to face their shit. So what is it that's holding them back? Expression. Here's the thing. This is a card about full expression. Okay. This is like living, if you see like the heart space is wide open. This is living out passion. This is living out who you are, full out. No more like holding back. They're not ready to do that. They don't know how to do that. This is a card about being free-spirited, about having like creative expressiveness, self-love, knowing how to celebrate yourself and being content with who you are. This is a card of like consummate self-love and self-expression. This is like, I don't know if you remember a few years back, and this maybe 10, by a few, I might mean like 10 or 15, I'm just popping into mind about this. It was like the Red Hat Society, and it was a bunch of older women who would go out and have tea, and they were like just totally self-expression, self-expansive, and really liberated, and they would get together and just go and celebrate their lives and themselves, and they'd like come to this space of radical self-acceptance, and it was just a beautiful thing to watch. So this is saying like, part of what's holding them back is that they're still not there. They still have some growth and self-love and self-expression to grow into. They don't love themselves and their full expression yet. They don't accept themselves as they are. They're still holding themselves back and acting out limitations, either placed by them or society or parents or whoever. But part of what's holding them back is that they're not ready to step into this full self-expression, this full authenticity, the fullness of who they are. They're still trying to maintain this image and this facade of who they think they're supposed to be. And that's part of why they're not coming forward, why they're not coming towards you in communication. So what would they need in order to communicate? Wow, they need to quit self-destructing. This is interesting energy. It's a very self-destructive energy that they're coming with. They're literally are in a space where they just keep doing things to destroy their own happiness and themselves. So they go into these patterns of self-destruction where they do things that they know are going to hurt them, and they do it anyway. They're in this pattern. This is like a deep, deep level of healing that they need to achieve. This is saying this, in order for them to come forward and communicate, they have to get out of this self-destructive energy. If they don't, they're going to get, like this snake, they're going to get bit. It's going to bite them in the ass, and they need to get out of it because it's not serving anybody. This card is about someone who has a chronic struggle internally. This is about somebody, so they may suffer from anxiety or depression or even like self-loathing, but they haven't been paying attention to the signs. They haven't been looking at it. That's why they're in no communication with you, because you were holding that mirror up to them. You were saying, this behavior is not helping you. This is not serving you. This is harmful. This is not good. This is not okay. And it was easier to block you out, to shut you out, to not communicate with you than it was to face that. But this is the thing, is that in order to communicate, they're going to have to be able to face that. This may mean that they have to hit rock bottom. This may mean that they have to encounter some really difficult things. But this is the thing, is that they're destroying themselves. This is like... it's like they're constantly attacking themselves, okay? It's like there's some like internalized hatred or something that's going on, is what I'm picking up on for a lot of the people. If this reading is resonating for you, is that people are self-destructive. They may be engaging in some super self-destructive energies that stem from childhood trauma or past life trauma or some kind of pain. But this is the thing, is that they are, excuse me, they can either be destroyed by the fire or be transformed by the fire. In order to communicate, they're going to have to break out of these cycles. They're going to have to do whatever it is that they need to do to break out of that. Go to therapy, hire a coach, whatever. But they're going to have to break through that. So what is it that they feel that they're not sharing? Confusion. They may have not communicated that to you. They may not have said anything to you about it, obviously, if you're not communicating. But the thing is that they're still confused about this. They don't feel, they may pretend, or you may sense or have gotten the sense that they just have moved on and they don't think about you, and that they're not having any kind of anything about it. But the thing is that they do. They still think about you. They're confused. They don't understand the depth of what's going on. They're also confused about why they can't stop thinking about you. It's interesting because the song that just came up on the playlist is a song called In My Veins by Andrew Bell. And you guys know that I take a lot of signs from songs. And so that's the thing, is that they're confused because they're like, the song lyrics say, you're in my veins and I cannot get you out, I think is what it says. And that's the thing, is that they're feeling that sense of confusion, because they're like, why can't I get you out of my head? Why can't I stop thinking of this person, like Brokeback Mountain? I wish I could quit you, but they can't, and they don't understand that, and they're confused. They're confused about why they can't stop thinking about you, and they're also confused about even really why they stay in these self-destructive patterns, why they had something that they felt was so amazing and wonderful, and then they just screwed it up because of this. So there's a lot of confusion. That's one of the things that they're just not sharing with you, because they don't know how to share it. They don't know. I mean, if you're confused, how are you going to communicate that, right? Like, I'm just confused. That doesn't help anybody. So what's going on in their mental space? Interesting. they are in this space of innocence. Mentally, they're trying to go into this space of trust and innocence, where maybe they're not trying to control things so much anymore. They're not trying to understand things in that mental space, but that they're really trying to get into this space of just really trusting and feeling protected and feeling safe. This to me is about, because I was talking about self-destruction stemming from perhaps childhood trauma, in their mental space, they may be doing some work around healing childhood trauma, about doing some things to get back that sense of innocence, to move through those energies. They may be mentally working on getting out of the challenging times and going into a space where they are going deeply within to find the center, the stillness, and again, releasing the need to control everything in their life. They are going through a lot of turbulent times right now, is what I'm getting. We see this, right? Pessimism, confusion, and so there is a lot of turmoil. You see the waves around this, but they are trying to find their center and find peace. They're looking for the way through. They're looking for a way out mentally. What's going on in their heart space? We have community. Okay, so this is the thing. They may not be physically in community with people, but what they are doing is that they're at least surrounded by their counsel, spiritual counsel. They may be actually reaching out to other people and getting into community. They may have joined a church or a spiritual community or something like that, where they're trying to really get connected. In their heart space, they're really starting to understand. They're learning that they need to learn some lessons from others in community. So they may be drawn toward, like spiritual communities. They may have found their way to twin flame teachers or something. But in their heart space, they're recognizing that they're not going to be able to do this alone. They're not going to be able to get out of the self-destructive energy and into a space of innocence and peace and trust alone. They're going to need some help. That's where spiritual communities and things like Codependence Anonymous or any of the, NA, AA, those kinds of things really come into to play, and they're really beneficial because they help people to break through the isolation. And when you're when you're in community, it's much harder to be self-destructive. It's much harder to stay stuck in those types of energies because you have people around you challenging you. You have people challenging your pessimism, right? If you're around somebody and they're like, oh, that's just not, there's no way. You have other people that can challenge that and give you a different perspective. Part of what is going on here is that they're recognizing that the people in their current community contribute to their self-sabotage. So if you have somebody around you that's enabling you, or that's codependent, or that has the same kind of limiting perspectives as you do, then you're going to continue. They're going to empower you to be self-destructive and empower you on this path. Whereas if you get into a more holistic, healthy, whole community, they're going to shift that and they're going to help that. In their heart, your counterpart knows that that's the thing that they need the most, is to get into community and to get into a healthy community, to find themselves surrounded by people who are healthy, who are willing to call them on their shit, and that they're willing to hear from these people. Okay, they're growing right now, whether you know it or not. They are growing. In their physical space, conflict. They are surrounded by conflict, which doesn't surprise me with that self-destructive and sort of the energies that are coming through. They are surrounded by conflict. This is and because this is in the physical space, I'm reading this less as an internal conflict, although this card is about internal conflict. So there's two things that this could be, two messages that are coming through. And the first is that it really is, they're in an environment that has a lot of conflict. People around them are in a space of conflict. If they have another relationship, it's conflictual, it's not peaceful. Conflict doesn't necessarily mean all the time people think of conflict as like fighting. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It means being at odds. Okay, you can be in conflict with someone if you have different belief systems and not even, express that conflict. But that's the thing, is that there's a lot of conflict in their environment, in their physical environment. There's a lot of just tumultuous energy. Again, I see this tumultuous energy. But there is also, what the thing is okay, this is the message. Thank you, Spirit. That it's like as within, so without, because they have so much inner conflict and this, you know, 5 dragons wrestling within them. That's what they're manifesting in their external reality. That's what's happening. And so when you see somebody who has a ton of, you know, conflict in their external world, if you deal with people who are like, oh, and then I had this happen and this happened and I had beef with this person, I had beef with that person, I'm like, that's probably something that you need to look at within. You know, because there's a lot of people who don't have conflict with anybody, that there's never any conflict. It's always just peace and, you know, well, I don't want to say always, because there's challenging times, but interpersonal conflict is not one of the things. And that's what they're starting to almost recognize, is that like, you know, sort of, I've used this analogy before, but the common denominator, they're starting to recognize, like, oh, I have conflict in my life. I have a conflict in my relationship. I've had conflict in every relationship. Maybe it's not everybody else. Maybe it's me. And that's sort of the thing that they're working on right now. So, final message, what is it that they want you to know? The Great Void. Bam. The first major arcana in this reading. The Great Void. Look, this is just the what's the word? The dark before the sun, the dark before the dawn. There's a transition coming. Okay, this darkness is this them going dark on you, not communicating, not speaking with you, is it's just the time before the transition. This is the quiet calm before the storm. Fucking pick your analogy, right? I don't know. There's just too many that are coming up right now. But this is like, it's the darkness, it's unclear, everything, right? What they want you to know is that it's, part of what's happening is that you're learning how to face the unknown with confidence and without fear, and they are too. But the thing is that something is going to shift. There's going to be a transformation that's going to happen. You're going to get some new ideas, some fresh downloads. You're going to have, like, there's so much possibility ahead for you, for this connection, for your future. It doesn't necessarily mean, when I say for your connection, I always like to give the caveat, because I don't want to give anybody false hope. I don't want to be like, I've heard some readers that are like, will say things and I'm like, oh, that could really give somebody an idea that that can lead them to having false hope. And I never want to be that reader that you're like, you're just blowing rainbows up my butt and trying to make me feel better about things. I don't ever want to be that reader. And I also don't want to be cynical about things. There has to be a balance between the two. So the thing is that what this is saying, what they want you to know, is that there are so many possibilities. Don't limit yourself, okay? Don't limit yourself. Don't limit the universe. There's all it takes is one, flick of the magic wand of the universe. Everything can change in a second. And that's the thing. Face your future, even though it's unknown, even though, this is saying the counterpart for whom you're listening is saying, I don't know what's ahead. I don't know what the future holds. There's so many possibilities. It's all unknown right now. But they want you to face it with faith, to let go of any fear. I think fear came up yesterday in the reading. This is the thing, is that you have the ability to manifest the life that you want. They want you to know that. Create the life that you want to create. Right now, they're in pessimism, confusion, self-destruction. They're not in a space, a lot of conflict, that they can necessarily bring that peace and that energy that you want in your life. And so that's like, okay, so create the possibilities in other ways. It doesn't mean you have to go into another connection or anything like that, but create that for yourself. What they're saying to you right now is literally like, there is no way to know what the future holds for your connection, which may or may not give you any peace. Okay, you may want a solid answer. The thing is that they're confused. They don't know. They're still confused. They still don't know what they want to do, and so it's still unknown. But the thing is that there's vast possibilities. So do your work, continue manifesting the life that you want to manifest, continue sending them light and love and healing vibes and all of that, that if you feel aligned in doing so. But recognize that at this point, they're just not able to give you any clear answers because they're still not clear. And you just go ahead and manifest and create the goodness and the badassness that you want to have in your life. And I really feel like this is kind of a blessing, that there's almost like, by blessing, I mean like giving you a blessing. Like, you have my blessing to go ahead and create in this vast energy and the possibilities for the life that you desire, and with love and with compassion, because they're still working out their own stuff. They're still in their own personal growth and transformation process. They don't want you to like sit here and wait and fear the future, because they're still confused. That's the message that I'm getting. So I hope that this reading was beneficial. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk with you soon. Bye.